Lately, it feels like people are in one of two places. Either nothing feels clear, or everything feels like it means something. And neither one of those spaces feels good. So let's talk about that, and how to actually work with it without getting stuck in your head. Once you start paying attention, really paying attention, something interesting happens. Everything starts to feel significant. The song that comes on right when you're thinking about somebody, or the number you keep seeing on license plates. That dream that feels too real to ignore, or maybe even that text that arrives right after you've thought of a person. And at first, it does feel kind of amazing, like you have tuned into something, like the world got a little more alive. But then, and this is the part nobody really talks about, is it starts to feel a little heavy. Because now you're watching everything, tracking everything, wondering what this means and what that means, and whether you missed something 3 weeks ago because you weren't paying close enough attention. And instead of feeling more connected, you start to feel maybe a little bit exhausted. If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. Welcome back to More Than We See. I'm Natalie, and I'm glad you're here. Today, we are talking about one of the most quietly exhausting things that happens when you start trusting your intuition or your psychic abilities. The part where everything starts to feel like a message. And what to do when it does. I really see this happen all the time. Someone has a real experience, and it's a genuine moment of knowing. It's a genuine connection. You know that feeling that you get. Something really has landed clearly, and you trust it, and it turns out to be right. And something shifts. You think, okay, I'm going to start paying more attention. Like, it's an amazing feeling. And it's a good instinct to have. Yes, pay attention, track those data points. But what happens next is where things start to drift. The attention that was soft and open turns into something a little more like surveillance, let's say. You're scanning, watching, collecting, trying not to miss anything. And what used to feel natural starts to feel more like it's a responsibility, like you have to do this. And I have been there too. There was a stretch, and I will be slightly embarrassed to admit this, where I was trying to interpret the orders that I opened my phone, my computer. Like, what does this mean? What's the weather? Is this emotional? Is this timing? Folks, it was not. It was a slow internet. And I'm telling you that because this is not like a beginner mistake. Like, if you're just starting this happens when awareness expands faster than maybe our discernment does. And I've sat with people who genuinely exhausted, not from their life, but from trying to interpret maybe everything inside of it. A bird outside, a word that's being repeated, a feeling they couldn't quite name. And when I ask, well, what if the bird is just a bird? There's always this kind of, oh my gosh, pause, and maybe a little bit of relief in that statement. And that pause right before that relief, that is what we are working with today. And there's something else I've been noticing a lot lately too, just in conversations that I've been having this week during like my Sage Method mentorship work that I do. A lot of the shift isn't coming from getting more information. It's coming from changing how someone is approaching what they're already getting. So kind of the same awareness with a different situation. And everything starts to feel different when you do that. So instead of asking, what does this mean? Maybe start asking, do I need to do anything with this? Taking a perspective. Because that one shift takes something that maybe felt overwhelming and makes it feel a little more manageable again. You own it. And there's also something about how we listen. Not listening harder. Actually letting things come in without immediately trying to grab them, define them, and turn them into something. Because there is a lot of refinement in the work that we do in developing our abilities. And refinement doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing things a little bit cleaner, like less urgency, less noise, less pressure to make everything into something. Everything doesn't have to mean something. The people who really start to trust themselves aren't the ones who catch everything. They're the ones who know maybe there's things that need to just be left alone. And that's okay. And this isn't anybody doing anything wrong. This is all actually very human of us. Our brains are wired to find those patterns. That's how we've always stayed safe. So when you start to decide to pay attention, you're turning that system volume up, like, yes, I'm listening. And suddenly everything starts to look connected. Not because it all is, but it's because you're paying attention, because you're looking for things. Apophenia, they call it. And it just means that your brain is linking things together that may be not related. And honestly, it's not a flaw. It's just a system running without a filter. We used to have to protect ourselves from dinosaurs, so there was a certain thump we knew to run from. The other piece in this is reassurance, meaning feeling safe. If everything is a message, then something is guiding you. Something is watching out for you. And that is a really human thing to want. And I don't want to take that away from you today either, because I truly believe that we have spirit guides and that we do have folks who run those guardrails with us. So maybe saying that, because everybody wants that human thing, but something watching out for you, I truly believe that's the reality that we live in. But maybe you're not always needing to listen. Maybe they'll engage when they need you to course correct. Because when that search becomes constant, it stops feeling supportive and it starts feeling, I would say, maybe just a little bit more compulsive. And then there's this quiet belief that a lot of us carry, that noticing something means that you should understand it. And that's tough. Like intuition comes with translation. But it doesn't always work like that. You notice things all of the time in your life without assigning meaning, especially before maybe you started working on your abilities. Like a sound, a smell, a shift in temperature. You don't stop and decode all of that, or maybe you used to not to, maybe you do now. Your intuition can work that same way if you let it. So here's the shift, because we are not working on more awareness in this episode. We are working on a better discernment. So again, instead of asking, what does this mean? Try asking, does this require action from me right now? That's it. That's it. And if the answer is no, you are allowed to let it be interesting without making it important in your life. And if you want something practical to work with, here is a few different ways to approach it. If you feel things in your body, check there. Check there first. Is there urgency? Is there tension? Or are you actually kind of in a calm, relaxed state? Because calm is usually going to be like, nothing's really being asked of you. If there's urgency, there might be something to go along with that. If you tend to think things through, give it a day when you ask that question. Just let it sit. Real signals tend to get simpler with time, not more complicated. If you process out loud, that's like talking. Pay attention to your language. Are you saying, that's interesting? Or, I think this means... Because sometimes the meaning grows the more you talk about it. Not because necessarily it was that, but it's because you started building a story around it. And if you're an overthinker, and boy, do I live here sometimes, if something isn't getting clear after a day or two, it's probably not something that needs decoding. It's probably something that you can move on from. So go do something normal. Reset. I think the word nowadays is touch grass. The things that matter don't disappear when you step away from them. And there's one more piece here, because sometimes it's not overload from everything that we're getting, that discernment that we're working on. Sometimes it's the opposite, and it's been huge these last few weeks. You feel stuck. Like nothing is clear. You're not picking anything up. You don't feel any yes or no. You're just sitting in a waiting room asking. And that is exhausting in a different way. And most of the time, it doesn't mean that your intuition isn't working, because your intuition is refinement. But it oftentimes means that something else might be happening. You might be waiting for certainty before you move. Or you might not trust the quiet. Or you might already know what you want or need to do, and maybe you don't like the answer. So instead of asking, what's the right answer? Ask, what feels maybe a little more open than everything else? Take a path, not perfect, just slightly more open. What looks exciting to me? And take one step towards that. Not a decision, it's an experiment. And we need to experiment more in our lives. That's all about how you develop. Because clarity shows up usually after movement, not before it. And if nothing feels clear at all, that might not be a problem to solve. It might be your system just asking for space. So step out of it. Go live your life for a minute. Allow your guides to give you those guardrails. If you start running in one direction, they're like, yeah, we need to bring it in. Let things settle enough that you can hear yourself again. Because intuition, seriously, it doesn't disappear when you're stuck. I promise you. It might get quieter. It might. So be a little discerning. This is actually what it might look like. You notice something. You think, that's interesting. You check. Does this thing need anything from me? Do your body scan. Do that processing in your mind. Speak out loud. If it's a no, you move on. You don't dismiss it. You don't build a story around it. You just let it exist in the reality. Because the things that actually matter don't rely on you catching them perfectly. Things that matter are going to come back. They're going to repeat. They're going to get clearer so you can understand them. We don't have to chase them. And learning to let some things be nothing is what makes the real things stand out. So I want you to stop and check in with yourself for a second. After our episode today, do you feel a little less pressure than you did when you started? I hope so. Do you feel like maybe you don't have to catch everything? I hope so. I want you to let that be enough. And if you're feeling stuck, maybe the shift isn't finding the answer. Maybe it's being willing to move without one and letting things unfold naturally. Immersive Spirit has some great free tools that can help with this. They're called the Soul Pillars. I'll put the link in the notes for this episode. I hope you have an amazing couple of weeks. And I hope that you live through these days with more of an experiment, living in the why not, rather than trying to sit and wait for things to happen and making everything have a purpose. Live your life. I'll see you next time on More Than We See.